This isn't gonna work well.
It's fun.
Hey everybody, I'm Steve Brown with It's My Railroad, and today we are going to scratch build the floor of our new engine service facility. It was really easy, turned out really awesome, and I'm going to show you how I did it right now. Hey, welcome to Sidetracked. This is the place we keep the stuff that doesn't exactly fit in with one of our project builds, but we want to share with you anyway. The stuff we do here is easily translatable between different kinds of modeling, different kinds of train scales. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, why not just subscribe? And then don't forget to push that little bell icon so you can catch future videos. If I sound excited today, it's because I am. I just got done building the floor of our new engine service facility modeled after the UP prototype at the Bloomington, California yard. Like I said before, it was pretty easy to do and it really came out nice. And what I like to do is just take you over to the hobby table and show you how I built one of these. To start with, I made myself this rough sketch based on the photos of the prototype. Now, it's not to scale, but it's helping me get an understanding of the scale and kind of some of the dimensions we're going to be able to transfer over to the build on the model. I'm going to make this first span from the corner of the building over to the wall of door number 1, 8 feet. We'll make the width of that door 14 feet. Then we'll go ahead and make a 14-foot section between the two doors as a working area on the inside. Like the next door, of course, 14 feet. And then from that door to the edge of the building, we'll make that 16 feet. But actually, I changed my mind later and made it 20 feet. I decided to make the structure 100 feet long because my locomotive will fit right into a 100-foot space like that, leaving plenty of room on both ends for the crews to work on the locomotives. I believe the prototype is longer than that, but there's only so much room we have to work with on the layout, so this is kind of what we're going to go with. We'll start first by making the subfloor for the model, and to do that we're going to use some .080 by 080 strips of styrene that we're going to cut into 100-foot sections. We're going to need a total of 6 of these, so I'll measure and cut the first one, then put that in the chomper to get a nice clean cut, and then go ahead and make 5 more pieces using the first one as a template. Now, because I didn't have a stopper at the end, even though I used one as a template, the ends came out a little uneven. So I decided I'd just put it back in the chomper all at one time and then clean the edges off. If it's not exactly 100 feet long, it's not really going to kill us at this point. Next, we'll go ahead and cut the cross members that go under the subflooring, and their length is going to be 20 feet minus the width of the 100-foot pieces we cut. I measured the first piece and then cut it, but in this case I'm able to then put a stopper in and cut 3 more pieces just like the first one. After cutting out all the pieces, I decided I would just lay them out, make sure they fit, make sure it was making sense. It looks like it's coming out pretty good, so we need to get it all glued together and then put the piece on top. And then to make sure the height of the subfloor is working out relative to a piece of track, I just laid a piece of track in there and kind of eyeballed it. It's looking good so far. So now it's time to glue that frame together, and to do that I'm just using super glue. People will use different kinds of things. I'm kind of a super glue kind of guy. And I put the pieces together, setting them up on top of this cork roadbed so that if any of the super glue gets through the bottom of the joint, it won't stick the model down to the table. You see here I'm using my steel ruler and the angle from my stopper to make sure that everything lines up perfectly, and it does. So now let's glue it together. When you're using super glue on a styrene model like this, it's very important to put just a tiny bit of glue. Otherwise, it takes forever for this stuff to set up, and what's the point of super glue if it's going to take forever? With the glue on the pieces, I just snugged them back together, held them down for a second, and then moved on and glued the piece on to the other end. The end pieces seem to be holding strong and everything seems square. So I glued on the other 100-foot piece and just held that together for a couple of seconds to let it set up. Now it's time to glue in the cross pieces. To do that, I kind of wanted them centered. So I basically came 33 feet from one end, 33 feet from the other end on both sides. And then just applied the same technique to glue the cross members in place. So that's the first piece of the subflooring framing that we built. I need to go through and make 2 more of these, and then we can go ahead and put the flooring on them. Now it's time to put the flooring on this framing. To do that, we're going to use some 060 plain styrene plastic. A little bit later on, we'll do some scoring on this plastic to kind of give it the look of saw cut marks inside. I measured the width of the piece I need, which needs to go from the end of the model right up to the rails. Since the frames were already the correct length, I was able to use that as a template since my ruler only goes to 80 feet. I put my square on there, extended that dimension across the end with a slight score. I measured the width of the piece of plastic that we need for the flooring. Then using my metal straight edge, I went through and I made a number of very gentle scores. The idea here is not to cut through the plastic, but to weaken it at a point where we can just snap it later. I did the same thing for the cross cut at the end. And then I just went through and I gently bent and worked the plastic back and forth until it snapped. And just like that, we have our first piece of flooring cut. Let's set it on the framework and line it up against the track, see how it looks. I wanted to make sure that the flooring set below the actual top of the rail so that the locomotives don't get fouled, and for track cleaning. Looks like it's pretty good. I went through and measured the width between track nails on the track so I can make a piece that goes down inside there to finish off the flooring. Now I need to make sure the piece sits right down on the railroad ties and leaves enough room for a flangeway. After I cut the piece, I laid it on the track, set on a locomotive just to be sure that the glad hands were clearing it as well as the wheels. Just before gluing all the flooring down, I set it up one more time just to take a look and make sure everything was coming together the way we wanted it to. And again, it looks really good. There is one other thing we need to do, however. These pieces of plastic right here are sitting right on top of the rail spikes, which means they're not sitting right on the framing. This means that the flooring is going to stick up a little too high and can be kind of warped. So it was a simple matter to go through with my sharp X-Acto knife and just scrape along the edges, making a bevel there so that it wouldn't ride up on the spikes anymore. When I was done, I put everything back together and set it up again, and it looks really good. So now it's time to glue the flooring down. Because the subframe is a little flimsy still and not exactly holding square, I first put one dot down on the floor and glued that corner in. Then I went through and added additional drops of super glue down the one edge to line that up straight, and finally put super glue up in the corners and pressed down until it was dry. Now let's go through and do the other two pieces and see how it all looks when it's done. So just sort of lining it up again one more time with the big pieces glued on. I set my locomotives in there, lined them up, and you know, I'm really happy with the way this is coming out. There's plenty of room right in here for the crews to work, plenty of room on this side for them to work, and of course, some room over there too. Lots of details can go in here. I think this is coming out really nice. Well, I said it before and I'll say it again. That was easy and it turned out awesome. I really love the way this thing looks. I'm very excited to see how the project develops in the weeks that come. Hey, listen, this is the kind of stuff we do here on Sidetracked, so if that's the kind of thing you're into, Again, just go ahead and subscribe. And make sure you like and share this video with somebody. Don't forget to join up with us on Instagram and Facebook during the middle of the week. And until next time, thank you so much for joining me here on Sidetracked. My name is Steve Brown. Rail on, my friends.